The Morning After with Joseph Kabuleta.
Welcome to another edition of the Morning After with Joseph Kabuleta. As always, your host is Idris Chigundu. Joseph, you have been missing in action for some time.
Yeah.
Some of the viewers would want to know. I mean, what have you been cooking in that period?
No, I was missing in action just because I was out of the country, and there's been a lot of there's a bit of questions as why isn't the podcast going on? But we are back, and we are going to be back, and we are here. So that's just that. I stepped out of the country briefly.
And another thing, previously you have reiterated that the end is near. The end is very near. I mean, I know you haven't put a time frame to it, but you think it could happen as soon as in a time. Why do you insist on that?
No, I've put a time frame to it. I told you that I said this we're in August. I said this in June.
Yes.
That by this time next year, meaning by June next year, the Museveni dynasty will definitely not be there. And I don't mean Museveni. I mean Museveni, Muhoozi, whoever it is there, all the other people. We shall be looking at a new Ugandans back in control of their country. So I have put a time frame to it. And I'm seeing it might even be closer. If I was given an opportunity to revise the time frame, I would bring it closer than perhaps mid next year, because there's a number of things that when you look, you know that it's just a matter of time. Now, of course, I know that there's a lot of work has been put into trying to create a smooth transition from father to son. A lot of work has been done, put into it. But it doesn't work like that. It doesn't. I mean, even for somebody who has been almost flawless in his machinations as Museveni, it's not going to work like that. That's not how it works. Because, first of all, you have to understand, how has he managed to rule for 40 years? See, there is a guy who wrote a book called How Do You Kill 11 Million People? And it says why truth matters more than you think. A guy called Andy Andrews, and he was talking about how the Germans, the Nazis, killed 11 million people during the Second World War, but especially 6 million Jews. And he was saying, how did they do it? And the answer, of course, in brief, is by deception. Because if they came and told the Jews that you are going to die, you're definitely going to die, and everyone knows that, it has been decided we are going to die, they would fight back and they would die with some Germans. But that's not how you handle it. You see, you do it in a very deceptive way that will get them from where they were in their residences, take them to ghettos where Jewish people be, and then from there they put them in trains and tell them we are taking you to a place where you'll be in control of your own destiny, you'll be just Jews, and nobody is talking about death. So they actually board the trains willingly and even happily, and they even tell them, make sure you hold on to your property, make sure you mark your property so that you can identify your property at the end, the other side, hold on to your children, make sure you're in the same carriage as your family members. So it looks like an organized thing, but they're taking them to kill them. And at no stage do they know what their fate is until they've actually entered the gas chambers and the doors have locked behind them. That's when they understand that they are going to be killed. If it is told to them earlier, they would fight back. It wouldn't be that easy to kill them, even if they were unarmed and even if they were apparently helpless. So, and the deception would continue all the way, and even when they would arrive at the, at the camps,
The concentration camp.
Only the people who were there, a few people would know what is it. So they would, whisper to them, you say you're good at making, bullets, you're an artisan, you're what, don't say things like I'm a history professor, those are the people they want to kill first, and things like that. So, but the whole thing is deception. So how do you kill 11 million people? According to Andy Andrews, by deception, by not letting them know that their fate has been sealed all the way until now. In Uganda, we've had two leaders who are almost similar in many ways. Okay? Although one appears to despise the other, but their similarities are so much. Idi Amin came and said he's a life president. He couldn't do more than 8 years because he put it out up front. Now, he didn't know the tactic of deception. Now, Museveni came and he said in 2 years, he's going to leave and hand over to a civilian government. That's what he started saying.
Yes.
Then the 2 became 5. Then we have to make a constitution. Then the constitution has to be amended. Eventually, he gave, in small doses, bit by bit, using deception until all the way. And now he's such a good deceiver, more than he is anything else, because he deceived people even who know him, people who had grown up with him, people who had lived with him, people who were working with him. You remember famous Mama Babazi saying that basically had jumped the queue because they believed there was a queue after that Museveni at some stage was going to hand over to one of them. So they were patiently waiting. So he has deceived people all his life, including a majority of Ugandans. So now, no matter how bad the situation is, when you see an end in sight, people usually want to sit down and wait it out.
Actually, Joseph, if I could cut you, going back how he has, that first meeting after he took over power, he had to make people like Museveni and Nobidi, where he said, I just need 2 years. He had to make people plead and say, but 2 years are not enough. He says, no, I just need 2 years. I mean, I'm just trying to reinforce. So like, when you say the deception, I mean, so many people, and many people really believe that they had noble intention. Said, no, 2 years are really enough, and I hand over to these multi-parties.
And you remember the famous, I will go and look after my cows and what, and Anyway, so my point is this. If he had come out straight on and said, I'm going to be a life president, he would not be president right now, because you take away the power of deception, which is what actually made it possible. Because so many people are lured into a sense of it's inhabited, it's going to end very soon. And then they realize it's not ending. And by the time they come to the realization that they've been deceived, they are powerless. Somehow their hands have been tied in so many ways. And now that's what he has done very well. Now, the reason I'm very sure it cannot go on into his son the way he thinks it is going to is, number one, now the whole country knows that his plan for Uganda all along was to give us a North Korea style of power to father to son to grandson, sort of dictatorship, as if they own the country. Now, nobody is going to accept that. Okay? He would have to put cyanide in everybody's head for us to accept that. No, nobody is going to accept it. Now there is no more deception. We know what his plan is, and we know how it is. But for now, everybody is going to wait him out. Okay? That's the thing. Unless something drastic happens, and they don't even have to wait him out. I'll tell you this story of Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar was a very powerful general who went, and captured big parts for the Roman Empire, including Spain, and made the first incursions by the Roman Empire into what is now England, and so on, and so expanded, the Roman Empire. And the 2 generals, you remember, if you know the story, he came and confronted Pompey and defeated him. And now Rome was quaking at the return of Julius Caesar, because they knew he was so powerful, he had the ability to come and take over and be the ruler of Rome. And so the question is, was he going to be comfortable ruling the outskirts and, the different territories outside of Rome, or was he going to come to Rome itself? So, of course, Julius Caesar decided to come to Rome, and you've had the phrase crossing the Rubicon. So he crossed, came and declared war against Rome, and Rome couldn't handle him because he was a great general. Now, when he came, he was so powerful, extremely powerful. The Senate had to bow down to him. They didn't particularly like him, but they were powerless to resist him. But they were scared that he was going to create a dynasty, because he already had somebody who had identified as his successor. I think somebody called Octavius or something like that.
Yes.
So they didn't want that. The Senate wanted to retain some power, because there was some sort of constitutionalism in there. So, but nobody had the ability or the power to confront, or let's say the guts to confront Julius Caesar, until one day he collapsed in front of the Senate from apparently some sickness, which was even temporary. He just fell down and collapsed in front of the Senate. That's all it took for everybody to finally see a chink in his armor. Now, everybody was scared of him, was no longer scared of him. It just took something, because outwardly, in terms of his army and everything, he was solid. It is just the weakness in his body that gave people hope, and they killed him and took over. And his selected successor did not take over. That's the story of Julius Caesar. Now use it the way you want. So my point is, so everything can seem so at that time when there is a peak of strength, and see that you can learn so many things about these empires and how people build them and so on. And
so from what I gather from all those stories, it's like you are hoping for is because a divine kind of intervention. Would it take a similar divine intervention, like for things to change the way, for the script not to go the way it's supposed to? Like in our case, similar to what happened to...
Let me tell you, like you're talking divine intervention as if we're talking about an immortal person. Okay? Like it's you just wait and see. Because biology does not respect anything, does not respect armies, does not respect generals. Biology is biology. And biology has to catch up at some stage, doesn't it? Unless we are going to amend biology and call parliament and give them 5 billion shillings to amend biology. But it is going to happen, whether you like it or not. Now, the question is, what he has been trying to do is to create a scenario where when biology happens, there is no vacuum, there is no power vacuum. It moves straight on from one, that's why you've had them call, say, standby generator, which is, if the standby generator, as soon as power goes, another person, their source of power takes over. Now, so that's what he's trying to do. So that there is a seamless transition. That's the whole power of it. But the transitions are never that seamless. They are never that seamless. And there are people who right now are all cheering and happy and what, because they are waiting out. And you can never know what, and I've said this before. And there are people, you look at them and you say, this person, they are not going to accept what has been handed down to them. Okay? It's just that just a few of us will come out and say it out loud. But there are so many other people who will not accept it. And then you say, what are they going to do? You wait and see. But you see, that old man, you see, there are so many people who owe him loyalty for one reason or another. And he has planted that. Because a very astute politician is, has people, places, you find people who, will say this man saved me here, this man saved me here, during campaigns, when I was campaigning in 2021, I went to a hotel somewhere, and I was talking with this hotel owner, and I found the hotel owner is such a strong supporter of Museveni, because apparently the bank was taking his hotel, and Museveni saved him. And the man was very angry with me for even daring to say there's something wrong with Museveni. I checked out of his hotel. I said, this man can even... No, I said, this man can even poison me. You see, because he was very angry with me. Or, people put a lot of emotion in some of these things. And which has, sometimes these things are analytical. You don't have to be so emotional about it. So anyway, I checked out of his hotel and went to another hotel. So my point is, there are those people all over who owe him some loyalty. But loyalty is not transferred from father to son. It is not. It is. So now that's where the whole thing comes apart. And that's where it is definitely going to come apart. Okay? And the thing is that I know what he has built, what he has tried to build here and there. And politically, he's done a good job. Because he has tried so hard to keep, if this NRM stock PLU thing is to hold, there are certain things which have to happen, which I have looked through. The first one is the whole Western axis has to stay along with the Museveni Muhoozi axis. The whole of Western Uganda, that is Bunyoro, Toro, Ankole, Kigezi, and Bufumbira, which is also Kigezi. Bufumbira is also part of Kigezi. So they have to stick together. If any one of those fall out of there, then that system falls. But he has done a good job in trying to keep them there. Because now, see, my people in Bunyoro, at some stage they felt very marginalized, but now they have a number of, they have a prime minister, they have, some ministers, Balam what.
They have a works minister.
They have a works minister, they have a stadium, they have roads, they have oil. They don't know God is the one who gave them that. Somehow they credit it to Museveni and all the oil roads. So somehow there's this feeling that they have not necessarily been ostracized. So they feel a bit a part of it. And that has been engineered very well. But partly because of my coming up, so that happened. Then you go Toro. Toro has always been very, very, very NRM. And I don't think that's about to change. Now, Ankole Chigezi, now you see because of what happened with Besije, now you had to bring 2 people from Rukunjiri,
Tumukunde and Jim
Muhoozi. And then you see that on the other side of Chigezi, Kanungu, even if Muhoozi had sworn that Baryomunsi is not going to be a minister, Museveni knows as the one calculating, doing the political calculations, he knew that was an emotional thing by his son. But in order to keep Chigezi feeling a part of this, it was necessary to get the other Kanungu side. So Rukunjiri side with those 2 Muhoozi and Tumukunde, then the other side. So you see they are playing, all these games.
And you have Musasizi in Kabale.
You have Musasizi.
Minister of Finance.
And
Bahati.
Bahati. Then also you have Kaihura, who is a very strong person from Bukumbira. And somehow, so many things could have happened to him because his name has come up in all sorts of places where it shouldn't come up, recently, But somehow he will be there because he has that behind him. So that is in keeping together the whole Western axis, in trying to keep those people together. The question is that that seamless transition from father to son, will all those people stay in place and be loyal to the son the way they were to the father? That's a very big question mark. You see what I'm saying?
I know.
Now, then there was West Nile, which was, Moses Ali was doing a very powerful thing. His son might still do something, but he's not going to have the power that Moses Ali had.
And the son even has opted not to stand. Siraj is not standing. The family has come out and said it's not backing anyone in this election. The last time I read Moses Ali, the family has no one in the by-election.
So now that complicates that whole Adik West Nile also. That
would be the end of the
Now, other parts of the country, there are a lot of grievance regions which have a lot of grievance.
But also, you are taking the Acholi and Lango. I mean, taking big chunks of Lango from UPC. Acholi had traditionally been opposition because of the LRA war. But now, the last 2 election cycles, it seems to be firmly in NRM's hands now.
Yes.
Even when you have sprinklings of opposition politicians from there.
Yes, but now what happens is, of course, now there's a lot of NRM in Acholi. And I saw actually in 2021, Museveni won handily in Acholi. And it was not by means of cheating in Acholi, because I actually did my survey there and found that those people there voted for him. But there has been an issue since of Bararu. That time when I was talking about land, and talking about how, all that land they're getting cattle from the Nweri in South Sudan and bring it here, and they actually had cut off their own and they were dispossessed and so on. And all the other issues I was talking about land. I met somebody, from northern Uganda, a politician. And he was telling me that he thinks he has us in his hands, but he's joking, he doesn't have us. And you see, there's a grievance there. It's just that they are being subdued and they are quiet, but those are people who are not going to be quiet for so long. I can guarantee you that. Okay? That one is definitely true. They are not going to be quietened for so long. And when I listened to him, I saw now these are people who are determined. Lango, I am not so sure about where it goes one way or the other. But then the other people who have so many grievances, Baganda, are very angry, extremely angry, by the way, and big grievances, and with good reason. Okay? And this has been traditionally a problem. But you see, the problem now is if they really want to strategize, you see, now this is a problem sometimes I have with these people who get angry very fast, is that anger is not a strategy. Okay? Actually, when you're angry, people ride on your anger to come and advance their cause. That has already happened to Uganda by Museveni. Because the Baganda were so angry when Obote came back as president in 1980.
And they abolished their kingdom.
And after he had abolished their kingdom. Yes, you know, they were still reading from the 1966 thing and the death of the Kabaka and so on. So Obote comes back.
And then he wins an election in 80.
Yes. So they were still, you know, angry about it. There was a lot of anger in Uganda. And now Museveni saw that as an opportunity. So he went, rode on their anger, promised them what he promised to them, and they fought, removed Obote, but 40 years on, they are still angry because the man who rode on their anger has done nothing. He has actually left them off worse off than Obote did. So now they are still angry. Okay? But then anger is not a strategy. You see? Because if you remain angry, somebody will come and ride on your anger and get what they want, and you will still stay in some kind on the periphery. Now that's the thing now. If there's going to be an organization, there has to be building inroads into these blocks which Museveni is trying to build, which is how he's thinking. First of all, you have to understand how is he thinking. How does he think this is going to work? He has something in his mind, and that's it. The Western axis has to stay together, keep people together. If you can go and, you know, Lango, you can see.
What about Teso and
now I'm coming there. Teso, they have a lot of grievance with NRM. He might have given them at some stage, he might have given them a vice president, who of course, you know, is just there quiet. And
they had a speaker.
They had a speaker who was detonated.
They have a
but they are still very angry. They tell us why? Because of their cattle.
The cattle thing, the compensation has never.
There's compensation.
Every election cycle it comes up.
Yes, no, it comes up in northern Uganda, it comes up in Lango, it comes up in Teso. And it got to a point where they were compensating people 40,000 shillings per cattle, which was lost, apparently. And then they say the compensation is over. You know, there's nothing that works in this Museveni's Uganda. You can't say that they are going to, you would come and say, we have secured 50 billion shillings for compensating people who lost cattle. But of course, you know where that money is going to end. It's going to end somewhere there. It can never go down to the actual people who had cattle. Now, and they are not going to be allowed to have cattle. Now, the thing is, but they wake up every day and people are coming from other parts of the country and are rearing cattle in their land. Okay? So now that's a problem. That's also whatever in Teso. There is a lot of grievance in Teso. I don't know so much about Sebei. Sebei are very complicated people. I've been there, I've talked to them. One day they're angry, the other day they are NRM, the other day they are very angry with NRM. You can't.
Sebei, the bigger issue was the FGM, the anti that.
No, that's not.
They were against that law.
No, that wasn't the issue. The issue was they took 65,000 hectares of land from them, from which they were grazing their cattle, and they killed their cattle. They went and created insecurity, chased people away, women were raped, and then they took a lot of land from them between, you know, those districts of Kapchora and Karamoja. So they have grievances apart from that, those social things. So now my point is that how do you break this thing? Now we are talking politically because without the politics, the army is useless. It has some sort of power, but not that much power without necessary politics. Now, and without the brains of Museveni playing his politics, which he's very good at, which he has mastered over the years, and without his deception, which is the only person better at deceiving than Museveni is perhaps the devil himself. After Satan is Museveni. The man,
Joseph, that's a big thing.
I'm telling you, the man can. When he says something, you know he's thinking the opposite. So now, After that, then now, are we the people who are trying to take control of our country, thinking politically, thinking about breaking, these alliances which Museveni is creating? Or are we just going to thinking we are going to just ride on anger? Oh, we are angry, we are angry, angry. Anger is not a strategy.
So what do you propose? What should the people do?
I am proposing.
Okay.
I am proposing.
Go on.
What I'm saying is that there has to be inroads. Okay? There has to be, because one of the reasons that, of course, two people have been targeted specifically. Besigye, because he has the ability to totally break up that Western axis and takes a lot of them away from NRM-PLU axis. Bobi Wine or Honorable Chagulanyi has Buganda, a bit of it, but the youth, a very powerful constituency, very powerful and very effective. And he has kept hope among them. The only way this thing happens, this father to son thing, is if all Ugandans give up hope. And those who can go to exile will go to exile, those who can do this to go. But as long as people still have hope. So when I see people singing songs of hope, and me, I'm happy because I know that these are not people we are going to subjugate anytime. When they start talking about Uganda and Pia and what, I get happy because I know these are not people who have given up. Because the only way it happens is if people give up, either through fear, through subjugation, or I don't know how. Appeasement is not going to be an issue because I don't think that Muhoozi has it in him to appease anybody.
Money and what?
To throw money. I don't think he has it.
Politics and everything.
I don't think he has that in him. He's trusting in his ability to beat everybody into subjugation. And I don't think that is going to work. Because how many is he going to beat? There will be so many. There are already so many. So many people are running into exile. People you would never think would run into exile. I mean, and eventually even the people who stand and defend this government will run out of words to say. And then it will come down on its own. Let me tell you. So there's so much you can. Museveni has also used this thing of keeping people busy on things which don't matter. That's why when the Roman Empire was about to fall and the barbarians were invaded, there were circuses in Rome every day. People were watching circuses.
And the barbarians were at the gate.
The barbarians were right at the gate,
yes.
but people were still watching circuses. So when the barbarians eventually came, people said, hey, how do you people come here? We are Rome. Don't you know we are supposed to be, invincible? But you are collapsed. Because when people get this idea that they are invincible, that's when they are actually at their weakest. And now eventually, right there. The barbarians are right there and the thing collapses. So all these things, people have tried them before. And it is not working. See, look at how much money they are spending now in trying to change the image of the country abroad. Paying a lot of PR people, a lot of lobbyists to go abroad and try to change the image of the country, change the image of, and of course, like when you're dealing with somebody like General Muhoozi, you're coming from behind because people have his tweets which have been running in British newspapers and where he's threatening this, talking all sorts of things and so on. So now, there has to be a complete shift away from seeing somebody who is drunk on power or an entitlement, who is talking about invading Kenya, who is talking about taking cows for Beyonce, who is talking about, and so on, and cutting off Bobi Wine's nuts. And, you have to shift the mindset away from that. Now to somebody, there's a lot of work that has to be done. And unfortunately, he has made the work difficult himself by the things he's done before. And he's going to continue doing that because what he's done before is not going to be the last. You'll be hearing others, and within a short time, a few more tweets, then deleted. But then people, the usual thing. So I am very optimistic that as we come to the last month of this year, we are about the rescue of this country away from, the tyranny of Museveni and his son. It's coming. It's definitely coming. I can assure you that it's definitely coming. You look at all things that are being done. You follow the case, like let's say, of Dr. Kizza Besigye.
Yes.
And you say, my God, now what's this? What's this? Then you look how many people were supposed to be added on the case and had to flee the country and are running away. How many people are going to run away? And then you can stand up and say, the other day the president was saying that, those people who are saying we have gone back to older days, we haven't gone back. We are worse.
We have gone back to the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, we have actually gone, we are worse than what it was. Nobody was scaring people and that is going to take them to basement. Like, we actually worse than that. At least they would do it. Not rather, but there are people walk around in fear. Even people who have no business fearing. Now, when you see that the proponents of the regime are the ones running into exile, then you know that the end is nigh, is absolutely nigh. It's even at the doors. Because right now, it is the opponents of the regime. But when the proponents start running into exile, then you know we are now at the brink of something big happening. And we're almost there.
Joseph, you have said people must have some kind of hope and what? We must maintain some kind of hope. But is that also a strategy, like you say? I mean, beyond hope, what else? No, I'm talking about the general citizenry. Because I know there will be people within the citizenry who will take up the mantle, who will go and speak on platforms like this and what. But what about the other ordinary people? How do you convert them? How do you convert those people to see what you're seeing? These other people have been on the sidelines or who may fear. How do they get that courage?
I'm telling you, it just takes one small event, like Julius Caesar collapsing. That's it's not that complicated. Okay? Julius Caesar was a powerful general. He collapsed, and that was the end of everything. That was the end of all his plan, this very powerful general. It is not that complicated. It is not. Okay? But now the reason hope is important is because people will not step out to do anything when they don't have hope. Hope is the basis of everything, of all things. Because now, even the people who are trying to subjugate us, they get let me tell you something, they get very frustrated when after everything they have done, you go find somewhere and find somebody saying that, do you know what that does to them? It's just a song, but it is like piercing them with arrows because you're saying, you mean these people still have hope? Yes, they do. You see, eh? And as long as they do, it is going to happen. You see, the problem would be if everybody just folds their arms and resigns to it. And I'll tell you this, there was an experiment done by somebody who was a social scientist. And he had rats inside there. I don't know if I will relate it very well, but you get the point. He had rats inside the cage. Now, there was a hole on top, which they could climb and come out of. But every time one rat tried to climb up, you would pour cold water in the cage. And then the rats would freeze. And then one rat comes up, then he pours cold water. Okay? Now, eventually, when any rat would try to go up, the other rats would pull it down because they were expecting that there's going to be a punishment.
You're going to cause us problems.
Problems.
Yes.
Now, eventually, he stopped pouring cold water altogether. But the rats continued policing themselves. Then eventually, he started removing one rat after the other, and replacing the rats. And then even the new rats, which didn't know about the water, came and they just started obeying the laws that you're not supposed to climb up. They didn't even know that the reason those laws were made is because every time, somebody tried, there was cold water being poured. So now now you have total control over them. You see, Now, as long as people have not gotten to that stage where you find yourself policing your words, policing your tweets, policing what you post on social media without ever knowing why. You know, the hope for these people, the hope for this best mate and what and all that, is that everybody starts policing themselves. Okay? The media polices. Self-censorship. The media censors itself. Otherwise, we are going to lock up the way they did with, the
NMG.
A nation media group. Then what? So now, eventually, even people who don't understand that, that's how countries, let's like North Korea, end up like the way they are. Because if they end up like those rats where people don't understand why, but this is the norm. This is how you grow up knowing, you obey orders. This is how it happens. This is how, you're supposed to do it. And you don't understand how it was imposed. You don't understand that perhaps there is a way you can come out of it. But we cannot ever get there. And we are not going to get there. That's why I get happy when I hear people singing songs of hope, singing songs that they expect a new Uganda at some stage, and that we are in a battle, and the battle is going to end at some time, and we are going to be in control of this country because we are. Okay? So now, that sort of messaging is a danger, and a necessary danger to our captors. They know that their guns are not going to shoot everybody. Okay? They are not going to lock everybody up.
Is this kind of movement towards that change, is it going to have some specific leaders guiding the people? Or is it just going to be a spontaneous?
It has to be spontaneous. Because now the way, that's a good question. The way the intelligence is framed, 2-3 people cannot sit down and discuss anything, and it does not get to, the powers that be. Because everybody is broke, everybody is selling information, even fake information for money. So somehow it can't be. But you see what happened, for instance, with the Kabaka riots, where something just spontaneous just happens. And you're this close, and actually, we're this close to seeing a change in Galbraith.
Yeah.
Because it was spontaneous, there was no ringleader, there was no, body following up on social media and what. There was nobody reporting Chigundu is the one who is mobilizing. Nothing. It just happened spontaneous. Now, spontaneous things happen anytime. I know they've done a lot to make sure that you can't gather in, because usually dictatorships like these are ended with demonstrations where people gather in bigs, what happened in Arab Spring and Sudan and so on. And so they try so hard to avoid that. But it can come from anywhere, and it just kicks on like that, and then there is no control. And now once it kicks on, it can start here. Now in this era of social media, all that is needed, and I'm not saying that, I'm just speculating, all that is needed is it happens somewhere, other people hear about it, the next thing it's all over the country. And there's nothing you can do. All the army you have, all these people whom you've recruited, even if you bring them from Gaza, even if you bring them from Somalia, there's nothing. There's nothing you can do when it goes spontaneous like that. And what would be the only solution if it was possible for these people? Would be that that you appease people, show people that there is hope for a better Uganda and so on, and that's actually doing things which give people hope. But we are past that. There is no way Muhoozi is going to give hope to anybody. Okay? He doesn't even think it's necessary. All he thinks is power. You see? Because the only way you can detonate now the possibility of that is when Chigundu is happy. And he says, no, if you want to whatever, I'm not going to support you. And so that there is a division among people. And then there are people now who are beginning to see hope, who are beginning to see perhaps we have not been sentenced to perpetual poverty like Museveni has done and so on, something of the like. But other than that,
the number of lawyers that are withdrawing from BSG's case, I mean, it's alarming given some of these big names. And clearly for them, many of them is about self-preservation or their theory. And also increasingly, I don't see the opposition. The opposition, I mean, I know it has been, but again, I believe this one it has gone so much into silence. I don't see so many of them talking repeatedly about these issues. in their gatherings, like press conferences, like it used to be.
Sometimes, actually, let me tell you, sometimes
Have some of these leaders so accepted the fate?
No.
Do they fear the base? I mean, there's that fear of the basement and what?
The fear is there, but also people who keep quiet can be dangerous. Sometimes it's easier, it's better to let people talk, because then you know what they are thinking. And then even the very act of talking releases some of the pressure that people have. When somebody is being squeezed and he keeps quiet, you don't know how he's going to explode. Yeah. So, and I think somebody who is like a political scientist like Museveni knew that. That's why he has all these radios where people call and talk and so on, and
and
because
abuse him and what?
yes, because that relieves steam, and somebody will feel that at least I told him something. But now when you see people keeping quiet, and you are trying to gag people, now the explosion can come in a way that in a way that you do not expect it. You're covering, it's like having what's that, pressure cooker, and you cover, seal every area where the steam would pass, and you think you're safe because you're not seeing any steam. It's going to blow up in your face at some stage. So, for me, the lack of words does not worry me at all.
No, I saw people here saying, you see, Mwanga Chivumbi, when he was released on bail and said, I saw even voices within the opposition and civil society saying, but he brought it upon himself. The man knows what is happening. How did they release you in just hours later? You are attacking more. They're going to beat him. And I said, have we gone down to this level of fear and self? Because there's not, in my view anyway, I thought what he said.
No, there were always people. One of the people who actually was, and unfortunately happened to watch on social media when he was on radio talking about how Mwanga Chivumbi, as if like some demons had taken control of him. Also, he ended up being arrested. So my point, I don't want to mention names. So my point is that there's nobody who is safe. There's nobody who is safe, because you're saying, why did you say that? You knew even knew who is saying nothing. It doesn't take a lot. Okay? Now imagine somebody like Rukwa, who was just representing his client. And now you see where he is. Or even people like who have run into exile. What did Semujungana do? What did Aaron Kiza do? Or people who are running. Just Aaron Kiza, I was reading his pieces on X, talking about the man who...
The witness.
That American British
Orlando
guy.
man.
Orlando guy. And I learned a lot from him. And for that, he's in exile. So now, basically, nobody is safe. It's just that nobody is safe. So whether you talk or you do not talk, if it's supposed to come to you, it will come to you, one way or the other. So now, when you see people keeping quiet, I do not lose whatever. But the people who matter are those who are, in places where you don't expect. Those people who are singing songs of hope. Those are very powerful voices. And I enjoy them. And since we started here, this podcast, I've been watching some podcasts in Uganda and what. And now there are so many people who are coming up saying, no, there's not going to be a Muhoozi presidency. Okay? And I'm saying, so now, okay, this movement is catching on fire. Because there is not going to be a Muhoozi presidency. It is not going to be there. You can take that to the bank. You can take that, but it is not going to be there. He can imprison everybody, but he will do that as long as the old man is alive. It is not going to happen. So, and you see, and now, as I told you before, he has backed himself in a corner. Because if he softens, then it might not reflect well on him, because he has tried to sell this image of he's so tough, everybody is scared of the basement. But if he goes for basement, it's still not going to be good for him. So he's damned if he does and damned if he doesn't. So,
and this people around him, the people hang around him and trying to encourage him to go to even act harder, to even hit harder. What will be their fate in the morning after?
Let me tell you.
The praise singers.
People are opportunists. Okay? Those will be the very people who will come up and say, we told him he was not listening and so on. Right now, where the bread is buttered is where they will go. Okay? And they do not want to go. I mean, they are not interested in fighting. So they will be there and they will, they will even talk big and so on. But they are not going to help him whatsoever. Because they are the very, very people who will turn around. And that's how people are all the time. So you will find that as his father has known, his only companion has been power. Without power, he has no companion. Okay? And if you lose power and you've built your thing on power, you lose power, that's when you realize you had no friend, you had nobody. But after Museveni said it long time ago in the early 90s that he has no friends. So he's under no pretensions that there are people who go out there who love him and what outside of his family. But now when you start thinking that the people around you, they will understand what kind of person you are. Let me tell you, Chigun, if you came and you were working for me, for instance, I had a company, you were working for me. Let's say I had a media company and you were working for me and I gave you a good salary, which is looking after your family. And you realize that I like hearing certain things. That's what you are going to say. Okay?
As a way of keeping my job.
As a way of keeping your job. So you can tell what somebody is by the people who surround him, because they're the ones who study him and they know that the way to survive around this person is, number one, don't advise them because that can be construed badly. Number two, tell them, this is what you should do. Cheer them on even when they are making mistakes. And you know it, but you don't want to go down that road because you don't think they will listen to you. All the people who went, I remember in 2005, when Museveni was, there was this belief that he might finish, and respect the constitution. Then people would go there and then he asks people that, what do you think? Should I, step down and what? And people who were wise knew that what he wanted to hear. So those who actually were wise said, Your Excellency, don't go anywhere. This country still needs you. You've not finished your work. Those are the ones who retained ministerial positions up to now.
You see, you got the leadership by deception in the beginning.
Now, my point is this. If you want the bread, let's say someone like, let's say Matia Kasainja, you want the bread, you want the position, and you do not have the ability to approach this man, and you know what you're going to tell him is not going to count in his final decision making, you just tell him what he wants to hear. So you say, Your Excellency, going where? You're still young. Where are you going? So, and now, those are the people who stayed ministers. Until now, those who went there and told him that, Your Excellency, your legacy is going to be ruined if you change the constitution. Those ones were cast aside and now are somewhere in the village digging matoke. So, human beings learn by experience that this is what the man wants. So now after that, everybody who asked him, whom he asked, should I go, should I not go? They said, Your Excellency, this country still needs you.
The Natalia Katega and the Amanya Mushega tasked him the same. But we see delegations from districts saying, wearing Sanja, coming to State House, saying that you should stay on, the people there still need you, but for you, why don't you come out clear on this thing? They were at conference and said, actually, I've told the people of State House to stop blocking those people. When they come with that Sanja, they deaden the place. But you see, yes, I've heard them, but you see, he told them. He told Kategai and Mushega. I've told the people at State House to block those people. But when people come, sometimes, as a president, but I say them, but for me, the Constitution, he was like, so they are telling him, commit. Are you going to amend the committee? They said, no, but we see, these guys come, you give them tea, even some are given facilitation.
But some of them ended up as with big positions.
I'm saying that the leadership by deception, that I'm saying.
That's why I'm telling you. That the man is a super deceiver. But he is a politician. He's a politician. You have to give him credit for that. So my point is this: when somebody is in power and you do not have the ability like that to change the fact that he has power, you tell him what he wants, So when you hear somebody like Mwenda cheering on Muhoozi for closing down Nation Media Group, which made Andrew Mwenda, then you know bread.
And saying that their analysis showed that the number of negative stories about against the Muhoozi and the Museveni were so many in the last period. I saw Mwenda making that video. I said,
yeah, and another person, okay, but Mwenda was made by that, by that. So anyway, but when bread comes into play, people have to survive. But as I've told you, not for long. Not for long. Soon, the wise money will be elsewhere, away from that.
Joseph, I think we won't exceed this point. Thanks very much again. And we urge the viewers to go to The Morning After with Joseph Kabuleta, hit the subscribe and like, and keep your comments coming.